Hello, everyone. Today I'm excited to share a truly remarkable journey that might just shift your perspective. Get ready to dive into the incredible experience of Avery Langston, a woman who once identified as a staunch skeptic. After facing a near-death experience, she returned with astonishing insights about heaven and Jesus that could alter your thoughts on the afterlife forever. But before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our fascinating content. Now, let's embark on this enlightening adventure together. So my name is Avery Langston. Not so long ago, I was the ultimate skeptic, the one who doubts everything. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon, a place known for its rainy, gloomy weather. It seemed like the weather mirrored my outlook on life, dark, straightforward, and a bit cynical. I had learned from a young age to rely solely on tangible proof. If I couldn't see it or test it scientifically, it simply didn't exist to me. As for miracles, just strokes of luck in my view. And the idea of life after death, just a comforting fairy tale for those afraid of the inevitable end. I truly believe that death was the final chapter, just darkness after that. Life had its challenges. At just 18, I faced the heartbreaking loss of my parents in a car accident, which shattered me and deepened my skepticism. It felt like a lesson in life's randomness, a cruel game with no higher purpose or divine plan. We were merely casualties in this indifferent universe, I thought. In the years that followed, I threw myself into my work. It became my escape from the pain, a way to find meaning amidst chaos. The one person who stood by me through it all was my older sister, Megan. She had a different perspective, being more open to spiritual ideas. Though I tolerated her beliefs, I often found them a bit absurd. Then, life threw another curveball my way. I went through a tough breakup that felt like the ground had vanished. Everything I valued about love and partnership crumbled around me, leaving me feeling lost and alone again. That all-consuming sense of despair enveloped me on that fateful night in June 2013. I was in my early 30s, disillusioned with life, convinced that I had experienced all there was to see and feel. But what lay ahead was something that would not only challenge everything I stood for, but also transform me in ways I couldn't possibly imagine. Imagine waking up one morning, completely unaware that just a few hours later, I'd be teetering on the edge of life and death. I would have chuckled at anyone suggesting such a thing. After all, I was pretty skeptical about the whole mystical side of life. Yet, life has a unique way of tossing us into unexpected situations, reminding us that there's so much more going on in the universe than what our limited understanding allows. With that skepticism weighing heavy on my shoulders, I set off on an incredible journey, one that pushed the boundaries of my existence and somehow brought me back profoundly changed. That night in June felt like any other in Eugene, with its typical rainy chill. I had made a promise to visit Avery, who lived on the outskirts of town. Usually I'd have canceled because of the less than ideal weather, but something pushed me onward. It was a peculiar urge, as though an unseen hand was nudging me out the door. So I hopped into my aging compact sedan and hit the road. The rain poured down in sheets, making it tough to see, and the windshield wipers were struggling to keep up. The glow from street lamps and passing cars blended into the dark, creating a disorienting scene. As I drove, an indescribable heaviness settled in my chest. It wasn't just the weather that had me on edge. It felt more profound, like my whole being sensed something significant was looming just ahead. The road twisted through the region's steep hills. While I knew this route like the back of my hand, each bend seemed fraught with danger that night. I cautiously eased off the gas, my knuckles turning white as I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Everything shifted when I crested a particularly steep hill. Out of nowhere, headlights appeared, barreling towards me. For a split second, I thought it'd be a smooth pass. But then, in a moment that stretched like an eternity, I witnessed that car skidding wildly on the slick road. My heart raced as clarity set in. I could see everything. Raindrops suspended midair, the sheer panic on the other driver's face, the shimmering metal of their vehicle closing in on me. Instinct kicked in, and I jerked the wheel to avoid a crash. That was my mistake. My car lost its grip on the rain-soaked asphalt, and in an instant I felt myself spiraling out of control. Imagine everything spinning around you, a cacophony of bending metal and shattering glass echoing in your ears. When the chaos settled, I realized I was hanging upside down, trapped by my seatbelt. The sharp, harsh scent of gasoline mixed with the metallic tang of blood filled my nostrils. Rain poured through the broken windshield, chilling my skin. There I was, caught between life and death, sure that my time was up. Oddly enough, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. Thoughts of Avery Langston, my parents, and everything I was leaving behind flooded my mind. Fear was absent. All I felt was a profound sadness and acceptance of my fate. With trembling hands, I unfastened my seatbelt and tumbled heavily onto what used to be the roof of my car. Each small movement sent jolts of pain through me as I painstakingly crawled through the jagged remains of the windshield. When I finally got outside, the relentless rain continued to pour. I found myself in a drainage canal, with the road looming just above. Struggling to climb the slippery, muddy slope, I stumbled and fell repeatedly. It felt like the cold and pain could crush me, yet deep inside I felt an ember of determination igniting my spirit. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as I clawed my way up to the road. At last, when my hand touched the asphalt, I collapsed, exhausted. The last thing that registered was the sight of approaching lights and the sound of worried voices before everything faded to black. Next thing I knew, I was in a bright, sterile place, buzzing with noise. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, and machines beeped rhythmically around me. I was in a hospital, still clinging to life by a thin thread. I could hear the frantic discussions of the doctors, bits of their urgent words cutting through the haze. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, we need to operate immediately. Waves of pain crashed over me, making it hard to stay conscious. Suddenly I was being whisked away to the operating room. As the anesthesiologist counted down, darkness enveloped me again, but this time it was different. I was aware of floating outside my body, watching myself on the operating table while doctors and nurses hustled around. It felt surreal, like being a spectator in my own life story. I marveled at the surgeons' deft movements as they stitched, repaired, and fought to keep me alive. Amid this frantic medical drama, I wanted to shout that I was still there. It was a moment filled with turmoil. I realized something was amiss. The machines around me erupted into a chaotic symphony of beeps and alarms. In the distance, I heard someone exclaim, "We're losing her," as I caught sight of my heart rate flatlining on the monitor. An intense, inexplicable pain washed over me. Not the kind one might feel physically, but a deep, soul-wrenching agony, as if a part of my very being was tearing away. Each cell in my body felt like it was crying out in torment as I pulled away from him. And then, just like that, the suffering vanished. It was replaced by an incredible lightness, as if all burdens I had ever carried were suddenly lifted off my shoulders, gifting me a serene calm that I had never known before. One last glance downward revealed the doctors struggling heroically to revive me, yet I sensed I was already departing. I wasn't sure where I was headed, but it felt undeniably significant. Out of nowhere, a powerful force drew me back. I found myself speeding up, propelled towards what I can only describe as a brilliant tunnel of light. The colors enveloping me were beyond anything I had experienced on Earth, an explosion of shades and tones that no human eye could typically fathom. It was as if the entire universe's spectrum was unfurling right before me. The speed was dizzying, yet I felt an overwhelming safety, absent of fear, just an exhilarating anticipation, as though I was on the brink of uncovering a monumental truth. As I advanced further into the tunnel, faint sounds began to emerge. Initially, it was just a whisper, but soon it turned into a chorus of voices, thousands speaking in unison. Rather than chaos, there was a harmony reminiscent of a cosmic symphony. The voices beckoned me, urging me to delve deeper and discover the wonders that awaited. I yearned to reply, to immerse myself within their call, but something tethered me to my previous existence, one final thread to the life I was leaving behind. Just as swiftly as it had started, the exhilarating ride came to an end. The vibrant tunnel melted away, revealing a completely new environment that pushed the boundaries of my imagination. It was like stepping into a room, if it could even be called that. There were no walls or ceilings to confine me. Surrounding me was a blindingly pure and brilliant white light that was almost too intense to bear. Imagine a world where the light feels tangible, shaping the surroundings like an entity of its own. There's this heavy fog swirling about, seemingly alive as it drifts softly. Yet, despite the mist, visibility is crystal clear. There's no presence of shadows or darkness here, just an overwhelming brilliance in its most untainted form. Oddly enough, I couldn't spot my own body, no hands to raise or feet to wander. Nevertheless, I felt entirely aware, as though my consciousness had expanded beyond any physical constraints. In this extraordinary place, the concept of time lost all meaning. Was I there for mere minutes, or had eons passed? Each instant felt infinitely prolonged, while simultaneously, everything unfolded in the blink of an eye. That's when I became aware of their presence, three figures materializing from the fog as though they had always been watching. They appeared to be men, cloaked in dark garments. The intricate gold threads adorning their robes caught my eye, shimmering with an unusual vitality, weaving complex designs that my mind struggled to grasp. Their expressions were calm, yet an undeniable aura of authority radiated from them that made me feel uneasy. Though they didn't speak audibly, a silent conversation was happening, and I sensed it was about me. The central figure, seemingly the leader, locked eyes with me. It was as if he was delving deep into my essence, offering no judgment, just a profound comprehension of who I really am, embracing both my weaknesses and strengths. After a moment, he turned to the others and conveyed something. I couldn't catch the words, but the implication was unmistakable. She's not ready. Those words struck fear deep within me. What did that mean? Not ready for what? For death? For paradise? Or a trial of sorts? A whirlwind of questions churned in my mind, but before I could grapple with any of them, I felt a sudden shift. The bright surroundings began to fade. The figures dissolved back into the fog, and I was engulfed in a sensation of motion. But this time it wasn't a forward thrust. I was being drawn backward, pulled away from that enigmatic realm. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been granted an unexpected opportunity. For reasons still unclear to me, my time on this earth wasn't finished just yet. The last image I recalled before drifting away from that serene waiting area was a fleeting glimpse of something extraordinary. Just for an instant, the mist shifted, unveiling a breathtaking view. There were vast golden fields, an impossibly vibrant blue sky, and light radiating from every conceivable direction. But just as I began to soak in the beauty, darkness enveloped me once again. Eventually, the darkness faded, leading me into an entirely new scene. I found myself atop a gentle hill, surrounded by infinite stretches of golden wheat and corn. The sky was a brilliant blue, almost surreal, adorned with fluffy clouds that looked as if they had been painted by an artist's brush. The atmosphere was electric here. Every breath I took brimmed with a level of vitality I had never known before. It felt like the very air was alive, buzzing with energy and endless potential. Down below, a winding stream meandered gracefully between the fields. Its waters sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight, casting a stunning crystal blue reflection. The soothing sound of the flowing water blended beautifully with the gentle whispers of the wind rustling through the crops. What struck me most were the people around me. Everywhere I looked, men, women, and children were tending to the fields, planting and nurturing the bountiful land. Remarkably, their work didn't seem laborious at all. Instead, their faces lit up with genuine happiness, as if every chore was a joyful celebration of existence. Children dashed between the rows of corn, their laughter echoing like sweet music across the landscape. They radiated a sense of innocence and joy that felt otherworldly. There was no space for fear or sadness, only an infectious happiness that filled the air. As I stood there, a woman passed by, balancing a basket brimming with fruit atop her head. Her face glowed with a warm smile, radiating a deep sense of peace that left me utterly speechless. She caught my gaze and waved as if we had known each other forever, and in that moment I felt a wave of love and acceptance wash over me, nearly bringing me to tears. The colors in this remarkable place were something beyond my experience. They buzzed with life, more vivid than anything I'd ever encountered. The golden fields seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, while the green of the trees was so profound it made my eyes ache with its beauty. It felt as though I had truly awakened to a new reality. Imagine being somewhere for the first time, a place that reveals the world's breathtaking beauty and wonder. Here, the concept of time felt peculiar. The sun never seemed to shift in the sky, casting everything in a perpetual golden light as if it were noon forever. Oddly enough, this didn't come off as strange. Instead, it seemed like time had slipped away, each second lingering in an endless celebration of life itself. As I took in the scene, a profound wave of peace washed over me, knocking the breath from my lungs. All my anxieties, fears, and pains faded into the background, feeling trivial and far away. At that moment, a realization hit me. I was truly home. And then, I became aware that I wasn't on my own. There was a remarkable presence beside me, so filled with love and strength that my heart raced. As I slowly turned to see, my life took a pivotal turn. In that instant, I recognized a figure standing before me, Jesus. There was an undeniable certainty that surged through me. This wasn't the imagery I had encountered in art. He appeared in a simple robe and sandals. Yet, it was his essence that set him apart. His warm, deep brown eyes held infinite love and wisdom, radiating a peace and kindness that left me breathless. Words were unnecessary. His presence spoke volumes. I felt wrapped in a love so genuine and unconditional that tears streamed down my cheeks. It was as though, at last, someone truly saw me and understood me. Jesus beamed at me, his smile encompassing the world's joy and forgiveness. Then, with a subtle motion, he gestured toward the stunning landscape ahead. In that moment, realization crystallized. I was merely catching a glimpse of the boundless beauty and grandeur of paradise. As we stood together, a profound connection emerged between me and everything around. I felt the life in each blade of grass, the flow of every drop of water in the stream, the heartbeat of every grain of wheat swaying in the fields. Everything pulsed with divine energy, and I was woven into it all. Then Jesus faced me again, and though he didn't utter a sound, his thoughts resonated clearly in my mind. He illuminated the truth that paradise wasn't just a destination, it was a way of being. Imagine a place where everything felt in perfect balance, each spirit discovering its true identity and purpose. It was here, in this paradise, that I learned work wasn't something we had to do, but rather an act of love and creativity. Every little task became a joyful expression, a form of worship celebrating life and its miracles. There was no room for boredom or exhaustion. Instead, there was this ongoing delight in simply being and doing. In this beautiful realm, Jesus shared with me that time as we understood it simply didn't exist. No past regrets haunted us, and no future fears cast shadows over our joy. It was an eternal present, a moment bursting with endless possibilities and new discoveries just waiting to unfold. As I absorbed all this, a pang of regret hit me. I thought about all the times I had doubted and questioned if there was something greater than myself. But then, sensing my turmoil, Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder. That gentle touch felt like a surge of pure love, sweeping away all feelings of guilt and fear. In that instant, I realized that my doubts didn't matter, not one bit. God's love, embodied through Jesus, embraced me entirely, flaws and all. I felt genuinely loved, without conditions and for all time. I yearned to remain in this radiant love forever. Yet, alongside that warmth came the understanding that my time was limited. I had been offered a beautiful glimpse into this existence, but it wasn't my moment to linger. Just before I could voice my sadness about leaving, Jesus smiled at me. That smile carried a promise. It wasn't farewell, but rather, see you later. Paradise would still be there when it was finally my time to return. With this assurance filling my heart, I felt prepared to go back. But Jesus still had more to impart, more secrets about the essence of paradise and what exists beyond our earthly lives. As I readied myself to depart from that enchanting place, he continued to reveal profound insights about paradise. Each revelation washed over me like a wave, expanding my understanding in ways I had never dreamed possible. Jesus explained that paradise wasn't a stagnant destination. It was a landscape of endless creativity and growth. The souls there weren't just lounging in everlasting bliss. They were infinitely exploring, learning, and evolving. Each new moment, or day, as we like to call it, brought forth fresh revelations and new avenues for expressing love and crafting beauty. The colors I observed, he elaborated, were just a small glimpse of the vast spectrum that thrived in paradise. Imagine a realm where colors go beyond what our eyes can see, where light and energy vibrate with meanings and emotions that are simply beyond our earthly understanding. Each hue we cannot detect weaves together a rich tapestry of experiences and emotions that span across various dimensions. In this paradise, communication unfolds in a manner completely different from what we're used to here on Earth. Souls connect on a profound level without uttering a single word. Ideas, emotions, and thoughts flow seamlessly among one another, creating a beautiful harmony of understanding and empathy. There's no room for misunderstandings or secrets. Each soul is fully known and embraced with unconditional love. Jesus shared a striking image of paradise, a place where physical limitations dissolve away. Here, souls possess the freedom to embody any form they desire, or perhaps none at all. The true essence of each being resonates through whatever shape they choose to take, transforming every encounter into a joyful recognition of each other's individuality. The notion of family in paradise, Jesus explained, expands far beyond the relationships defined by blood. All souls are intertwined in one magnificent cosmic family, bonded by the threads of divine love. Yet, those connections formed on Earth carry a unique weight, growing richer and deeper under the profound comprehension and love that heaven offers. One of the most astonishing insights was regarding knowledge. Jesus showed me that in paradise, knowledge isn't about rote memorization or learning. It's a vibrant, living experience. You can grasp any facet of creation, relive any moment in history, or understand any idea instantaneously. He also made it clear that paradise isn't some isolated haven, but is deeply interwoven with every aspect of existence, including our Earth. The kindness and love we express here create positive energy that ripples through to paradise, where it's embraced and celebrated. In turn, the love and light of paradise continuously flow back to us, nurturing and uplifting all of creation. Perhaps the most transformative revelation was about the purpose of our earthly journey. Jesus illuminated the idea that our time here isn't a test for worthiness, but rather a chance to grow and make choices freely. Each joy, challenge, and relationship we encounter presents us with opportunities to learn, love, and evolve. Imagine this. As I delved deeper into my experience, it became clear to me, thanks to the insights shared by Jesus, that paradise wasn't just a place one reaches and stays. Instead, it was part of a much larger and ongoing journey of evolution and growth. There were realms that stretched far beyond paradise, layers of existence and consciousness that went on forever. The path of the soul, he revealed, is endless, constantly seeking a richer understanding and connection with the divine. As these concepts sank in, I could feel my awareness expanding in ways I never thought possible. It was like each cell in my body was awakening to a profound truth, revealing a deeper reality. While I knew I wouldn't be able to carry all this knowledge back with me, I was certain that nothing in my life would ever be the same again. And just like that, in an instant, the moment arrived for me to leave. Jesus gave me one final, warm smile, filled with love and assurance. Then, almost in a heartbeat, the beautiful paradise around me started to melt away. I experienced a wild sensation, like I was both plummeting and soaring at the same time. The vivid colors of paradise formed a whirlwind of light, and I felt myself being drawn back to my physical form. The transition hit me hard. It was as I was knocked back into reality with an unyielding force. One moment, I was wrapped in peace and beauty. The next, I was overwhelmed with pain, jolted back into the physical world like a freight train had plowed into me. It felt like every nerve in my body was ablaze. When I opened my eyes, I was in the operating room. The bright fluorescent lights felt brutal after the gentle ambiance of paradise. The noise was deafening, the machines beeping, doctors speaking in urgent tones. Everything was chaotic. Suddenly, I heard someone exclaim, "She's back!" And the room erupted into frenzied movement. Medical staff hustled around me, adjusting monitors and checking on my condition. I wished I could communicate that I was fine, that I had witnessed something extraordinary. But my throat burned from the breathing tube, rendering me unable to speak. The pain coursed through me like a relentless tide. Each breath felt like a battle, and even the slightest movement sent sharp waves of agony through me. Yet interestingly, amid the pain, there was a flicker of gratitude. I was alive. I had been granted a second chance. The hours that followed blurred into a whirlwind of tests, medications, and questions. I was moved to the ICU, where machines diligently tracked my every vital sign. Every heartbeat and breath felt significant as I lay there. Doctors drifted in and out, often remarking on my seemingly miraculous recovery. But once the initial thrill wore off, I found a moment to truly reflect on everything that had unfolded. Surrounded by the rhythmic beeping of machines in that hospital room, I struggled to grasp the enormity of my experience. It felt surreal, both vividly present and almost dreamlike. I recalled the tunnel of light and the serene waiting area, the beautiful golden fields that seemed to stretch endlessly. The face of Jesus lingered in my memory, radiating an unconditional love that enveloped me. Yet those profound insights that had washed over me felt like grains of sand slipping away, eluding capture. I knew I had discovered essential truths about existence and the meaning of life, but I couldn't quite put those thoughts into words. All that remained was an unwavering certainty deep within me. I was acutely aware that what I had experienced was genuine and remarkably significant. This wasn't merely a dream or a drug-fueled hallucination brought on by the brink of death. No, it was a reality that surpassed anything I had ever encountered in this life. The knowledge I gained brought an unexpected peace, one I had never known before. Even amid the aches and exhaustion, I felt an unusual calm settle over me. The fear of death that once gripped my heart was fading. It transformed from a terrifying end into a transition, an opening to something more beautiful and expansive than I could have ever envisioned. As the days passed and I slowly regained my strength, that sense of peace lingered. It became my anchor during those long, painful nights, and a source of comfort throughout the grueling treatments. Each time I closed my eyes, I could almost bask in the paradise sun's warmth on my skin, or hear the joyful laughter of children playing in those golden fields. Megan, my sister, was the first to see me after I returned from the ICU. When she stepped into the room, her eyes were puffy and red from tears. The love that washed over me was almost overwhelming. It struck me then that the love I had felt in paradise was not some distant dream. It was right here, palpable in the connections we share with our loved ones. As she grasped my hand, tears flowing down her cheeks, she murmured, "I thought I lost you." I squeezed her hand tightly, feeling the warmth of her love. "I'm back," I reassured her. In that moment, so much was unspoken yet understood. Holding my sister's hand, I felt grateful just to be there, alive. I had so much to say, so many thoughts bubbling up about my experience, yet the right words seemed just out of reach. It was enough for that moment to just be present. As I moved through my recovery, I began to notice little shifts within myself. Vibrant colors captivated my attention, and music unfolded into layers I hadn't appreciated before. I found myself savoring the simplest joys, like the melody of a morning bird, the comforting warmth of sunlight on my skin, or the soothing taste of a cup of tea. It was as if every moment had taken on a newfound depth. What struck me most was the transformation in my outlook on life. The trivial worries that once seemed so important, career paths, financial struggles, and social status, faded into the background. I became more attuned to building connections with others, eager to fill my surrounding world with love and kindness. Every individual I encountered took on a new significance. Instead of the quick judgments I might have made in the past, I now recognized each person as a fellow traveler, each one bearing their own challenges, deserving of compassion. The teachings of interconnectedness lingered in my mind, encouraging me to embrace this truth in my daily life. As my energy returned, I felt a growing urge to share what I had experienced, not to persuade or convert anyone, but simply to provide a glimmer of hope, especially for those who were grappling with fear of death or uncertainty about what lies beyond this existence. However, I soon discovered that conveying my experience posed its own challenges. How could I encapsulate something so profound in mere words? How could I articulate colors that surpass earthly imagination, or describe ideas that push the limits of our understanding? Despite the hurdles, a feeling of duty nudged me to speak out. Having been granted insight into the extraordinary, I realized I couldn't keep it all inside. I began to share my story, starting with my friend, then expanding to include close companions, and eventually addressing larger audiences. Reactions varied. Some met my tale with doubt, others listened with intrigue. Some found solace in my words, while others contested every aspect of it. Through this journey, I learned to embrace every response with kindness, recognizing that each person was navigating their own unique path. As I recounted my experience, it became clear that I wasn't alone. I connected with others who too had encountered moments of near death, each story distinctive yet echoing familiar themes that resonated with my own journey. These connections were invaluable as I sought to make sense of everything that had unfolded in my life. As I moved through my journey of healing and self-discovery over the months, a realization hit me. My brush with death wasn't just an ending, it was the start of something fundamentally new. I found myself embracing a fresh approach to living and loving. While the typical challenges of life still loomed, I tackled them with newfound resilience and a steadfast belief that there is something extraordinary waiting for us beyond this existence. With time passing, I began to delve into my near-death experience, reflecting back on it with a keen eye. Every recollection and insight I unearthed layered deeper meanings as I connected them to my everyday moments. One of the most striking revelations was how my viewpoint on time had shifted. In the past, I was either caught up in future plans, constantly chasing after the next goal, or I was mired in regrets about what had already transpired. But now, I find a lot more joy in the here and now. I often think back to that sensation of eternity in paradise, where time felt like an endless expanse. It dawned on me that I could infuse that timelessness into my regular days by just being present in simple moments. Whether I'm doing the dishes, sharing a chat with a friend, or merely savoring each breath. I've come to appreciate the richness found in even the most mundane activities, a richness I had previously overlooked. Another profound shift occurred in how I deal with fear. In my earlier days, fear was a pervasive shadow hanging over me. Fear of failing, fear of being rejected, fear of death itself. Though I still feel fear occasionally, its grip on me has significantly weakened. Having tasted the peace and unconditional love during my experience, my outlook has transformed. I came to understand that many fears stemmed from a narrow view of reality. Suddenly, death seemed less terrifying. It wasn't that I had a desire to die. Instead, my experience deepened my appreciation for life. The intense fear that once paralyzed me gave way to a serene acceptance of death's inevitability, accompanied by an intriguing wonder about what lies ahead. My views on spirituality and religion took on a new shape too. Once a skeptic who dismissed any idea of a reality beyond the physical, I now approach it all with a different lens. After my experience, I found myself open to new ideas that I would have previously brushed off without a second thought. I didn't suddenly embrace religion in the conventional way. Instead, I stumbled upon a deeply personal sense of spirituality that was uniquely my own, shaped by direct encounters with the divine. This new perspective sparked my curiosity to delve into various spiritual and philosophical practices. I wasn't looking to adopt a new belief system. Rather, I wanted to understand how countless cultures and individuals have tried to grapple with experiences akin to my own throughout history. In my journey, I discovered valuable insights in mystical writings, Eastern philosophies, and even aspects of quantum physics, not to mention the stories of those who have faced near-death experiences. One of the most striking realizations that came after my experience was about the very essence of reality and consciousness. I began to question everything I thought I knew. What is real, and what are the possibilities? The notion that my consciousness could operate independently from my physical body opened up a whole new world of inquiry. If I could access realities beyond our material existence, what implications did this have for understanding the mind and the nature of life itself? As I explored disciplines like neuroscience and fine-tuned my interest in the philosophy of mind, I realized just how much more there was to uncover about consciousness and reality. Rather than lessening the impact of my experience, this knowledge amplified my wonder and respect for the enigma of existence. Among all these insights, one reflection hit me hardest: the purpose of life. Before all this, my focus was mainly on myself. My desires and ambitions ruled my decisions. Now I felt a powerful pull towards something much larger than myself. This journey reminded me of the profound interconnectedness with all the souls I encountered in that paradise-like state, making me aware of the unique role each one of us plays in the intricate tapestry of our shared existence. Consequently, I began to reconsider my priorities and how I wanted to lead my life. My mindset shifted towards seeking out ways to help others and contribute positively to the greater good. It didn't require dramatic gestures, but rather revealed itself in small acts of kindness, being present for others and infusing more compassion and love into each interaction. As I pondered my experience, I recognized that it was not merely a personal journey, but something worth sharing with the world. Not to make it all about me, but I aimed to provide a glimmer of hope and a fresh outlook for others. Every time I shared my journey, witnessing that spark of understanding or comfort in someone's gaze made me feel like I was fulfilling a purpose, one I believe brought me back here. Along the way, however, I came to terms with the fact that my story wouldn't resonate with everyone in the same way. Some would welcome it, others would turn away, and many would land somewhere in between. Respecting how each individual interprets my experience, shaped by their unique paths and beliefs, has become essential for me. As time moved on, my brush with death transformed from a vivid memory into a significant lens through which I perceive everything around me. It painted my existence, affecting my decisions, my relationships, and even my self-awareness. While I sometimes long for that serene place full of love I once encountered, I've started to discover traces of it right here on Earth. Whether it's in the uninhibited laughter of a child, the warm embrace of someone dear, or the breathtaking spectacle of a sunset, I find little reminders of paradise, signals of divine love that envelop us, even when we're oblivious. I began to give talks, pen down my experiences, and extend support to those grappling with their own existential struggles. I've never positioned myself as a guru or a figure of enlightenment. I'm just someone who caught a glimpse of something more and is mulling over what it all means alongside everyone else. A crucial takeaway from my journey has been the need for balance. My near-death experience offered an enlightening perspective on reality and the essence of life. Yet I had to remain grounded in this world filled with its practicalities and responsibilities. I worked on blending this newfound spiritual insight with everyday life. For instance, although I recognized that material concerns seemed trivial compared to eternity, I still had to make a living and provide for my essential needs. The key change was my approach. I started viewing these tasks as integral to my spiritual path, rather than seeing them as mere hurdles. My relationships have shifted too. Some bonds grew stronger as I revealed my experiences and shared my evolved understanding of life with others. As time went on, I found myself reflecting on how profoundly my life had changed since that pivotal night. The person I used to be feels almost like a distant memory now, a skeptical and fearful woman who seems like a stranger. Yet, I hold a deep appreciation for her journey because it led me to where I am today. Dealing with the transformations in my life wasn't always easy. I noticed that some people turned away, unable to connect with the person I had become. But I've come to accept these changes, recognizing that everyone has their own path to follow. Sometimes, I would find myself reminiscing about the paradise I once knew. During those moments, the beauty and tranquility felt so far away, and I longed to return. In those times of yearning, I would remember the comforting words of Jesus, reminding me that the paradise I longed for would be waiting for me when the time was right. Until then, my focus was on embracing the life I had in this moment. I discovered that through meditation and prayer, I could access some of that previous peace and love I had felt. I established a daily practice of stillness and reflection that allowed me to stay connected to that deeper reality, even amid life's chaos. The journey also sparked my curiosity about science. Instead of finding conflict between my spiritual experiences and scientific discovery, I realized that the advancements in fields like quantum physics and neuroscience often seemed to align with what I had felt. This opened a rich dialogue where science and spirituality became different ways of exploring the same essential truths. Gradually, my near-death experience transformed from just a singular, extraordinary event into an integral part of who I am today. It has shaped my choices, relationships, and understanding of the world. I approach each day now with a sense of wonder and gratitude, always aware that I'm a part of something far larger than I ever fathomed. Reflecting on this journey, I understand that words can hardly encapsulate the depth and significance of my experiences. I know there's still much to explore and learn, but I welcome every new day with an open heart, embracing the beginning of a new way of living, loving, and simply being. I'm sharing my journey in hopes that it sheds light on a much bigger reality, something that might spark hope in those wrestling with life's biggest mysteries. For anyone out there who, like I once did, questions what lies beyond our existence, here's something to consider. Reality encompasses so much more than what we can fathom or what our philosophies suggest. It's richer, more breathtaking, and certainly more complex than we could ever dream. At the core of this vastness is a love, immense, unwavering, that has the capacity to change not just our personal experiences but the world around us. My path is ongoing, and each new day brings fresh chances for growth, discovery, and connection. Sometimes I find myself longing for that serene state I once encountered, but I take comfort in knowing that I will find my way back there eventually. In the meantime, I strive to embrace every moment, to love fully, and to serve as a beacon of hope and compassion in a world that truly craves it. I hope that my experiences can illuminate the shadows, reminding us all that life, and even death, holds more than what we can see. Despite the challenges we face, hope is always there, love is ever present, and every day holds the promise of a new beginning. If this resonated with you as a beautiful spiritual journey, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Let's spread this message far and wide. See you next time.